Okay, so the rib heads are sort of like fists that are going to connect in to the sides, and there's sort of a cup formed by the demifacets on the side of the vertebrae and the disc, right? So a concavity. So when the rib heads roll, now remember the rib head comes in front of the transverse process. When the rib heads roll, they're going to roll, the ribs are going to roll like this. I'm just doing the bucket handle motion. You can think about the other one as well up top, but in the bucket handle motion, the rib heads will roll sort of up the vertebrae, and then they're going to glide back down the opposite direction to create really nestled firmly in that socket. So now you can see if you can see those 12 sets from T1 to T12, those 12 sets of rib heads, all doing that roll and then slide, sort of nestle in. So it's rolling up and sliding as you inhale, and then it's dropping, it's rolling back down and sort of dropping out a little bit. It's not really dropping out, but that's sort of how I feel it, that it sort of like goes up and nestles, and then it sort of softens and rolls back down. Seeing the 12 sets do that movement. Almost feeling like the spine becomes more stabilized as you inhale because of that. All the rib heads are sort of holding the spine in place, and then they're dropping away a little bit and providing a little more movement and flexibility. And then I'm going to twist and keep breathing. So now it's changing, right? Everything's sort of changing. The interrelationships are changing. The vertebrae are moving. So the demifacets are actually moving and twisting in different directions. So we're going to start to get, if I'm twisting to the right, if you think about the rib on the right, it will tend to drive it. It's going to roll up and down, but then it's going to tend to drive it more towards the back body. Right? And if I'm doing the same twist and I'm thinking about the rib on the left, it will tend to, it'll roll up and glide down, but then it'll tend to drive it more towards the front body. At least this is how I feel it. And this is going to be what actually begins to drive the oblong shifting and molding of the rib cage as we twist. So see if you can now focus on this very complex image as you breathe and twist. And I'm not going to time the breath in any particular way, and if I do tend to find myself timing it, I'll change my order then throughout. So just experiment with what feels good. So I'm now feeling these very complex rolls and slides of the rib heads, and I can add side bending. And a forward and back bend. To create a very complex moving image. Right? I'm creating a complex moving image of something that is already far more complex than I could ever fully grasp. So see if you can think now about almost like a trust fall, where you fall and your friends catch you. Like the rib heads are all doing their part to initiate the movement, like supporting the movement and feeling that freedom and that ability to move in all different directions as it translates from the vertebrae to the rib heads. And now feeling how with the motion of the roll, slide, and spin that happens, of course, through actual moving or through breathing, which is also moving, but feel how the breath then will begin to interrelate with the movement of the spine. find that as you're doing this rib head imagery and finding that feeling of support, that you can actually gain more freedom of movement, more range of motion, more flexibility. Feeling the bony support and motion of these joints. Okay.
If you enjoyed this video, sign up for the InBody Space newsletter and share the link with a friend. You can also find original content on Facebook and Instagram.